It was a clear afternoon at Ahmedabad airport. A Boeing Dreamliner rolled onto the runway for what was supposed to be a routine flight. But 32 seconds after takeoff, everything changed. The sky turned black, flames rose from the ground, and hundreds of lives were lost in the blink of an eye. What really happened to your India Flight 171? A tragedy? Yes, but behind it, questions. This is a story of silence, systems, and a disaster that may have been avoidable. On the morning of June 12, 2025, Air India Flight 171, a Boeing 7878 Dreamliner, arrived at Ahmedabad from Delhi at 11:17 am. The aircraft registered as BTANB was assigned to Bay 34 for its next scheduled flight, a journey to London Gatwick. But as the aircraft parked, the crew reported a technical issue. The fault was logged as STEP post XDCR. STEP stands for stabilizer, post stands for position, and XDCR stands for transducer. The sensor reads the position of the aircraft's horizontal stabilizer, the control surface that helps keep the plane steady in flight. Without accurate readings from the sensor, the aircraft's trim and balance could be compromised. Maintenance was called in, and as per protocol, they marked the issue resolved. By 12:10 pm, less than an hour later, the aircraft was cleared for takeoff once again. On paper, everything was fine, but the events that will follow told a different story. By 1 pm, passengers began boarding. There were 230 people on board, families, children, students and professionals. 13 of them were kids, including 2 infants. The manifest listed 169 Indian nationals, 53 British, 7 Portuguese, and 1 was of them is Canadian. In the cockpit sat 2 experienced pilots. Captain Sumit Sabharwal, 56 years old, had logged over 15,000 flight hours, more than half of those on the Dreamliner. First Officer Clive Kunder, just 32 years old, was relatively young but skilled, with over 1,000 hours on the same aircraft. Both pilots passed routine alcohol tests before the flight. There was no sign of fatigue, intoxication, or anything unusual. And at 13:13, the aircraft pushed back from the gate, and at 13:39, it begins its takeoff roll on the runway at Ahmedabad. No one on board had the faintest idea that this was going to be a final journey. The plane lifted into the sky. Airport CCTV captured the aircraft climbing normally at first, but then it began to lose altitude. A local plane spotter filming nearby noticed something was off. He later told reporters the aircraft appeared unstable, swaying slightly with its tail unusually low, as if something was dragging it down. Just 32 seconds into flight, the aircraft slammed into the campus of BJ Medical College, located just 1.5 kilometers from the runway. The tail struck the top of a student Miss Hall first. The plane was in slight nose-up attitude, which suggested the pilots were trying to maintain control till the very end. But it was too late. The jet disintegrated as it collided with more buildings. 5 structures were significantly damaged by the wreckage and fire. Students' dormitories, doctors' housing, and academic block were turned into the scene of devastation. All 12 crew members died, 229 of 230 passengers was killed, 19 more people lost their lives on the ground, while 67 others were seriously injured, some for life. Within hours, Indian Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau launched a full-scale inquiry. They recovered both black boxes, the flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder, and what they discovered raised even more questions. According to the preliminary report released on July 8, the engine had lost thrust almost immediately after takeoff. Why? Because the fuel control switches, which are normally set to run, had somehow moved to the cutoff position. That means the engine were cut off from the fuel mid-air during climb out. It was like driving a car at full speed and suddenly turning off the engine. Total silence, total drop. But the real questions remain unanswered. What caused the fuel switches to move? Mechanical failure, accidental action, or human error? The moment of impact, The plane was effectively gliding without power, and with its weight and altitude, that glide lasted only half a minute. When this information came out, it triggered an unexpected reactions on Wall Street. Boeing's stock went up. Why? Because the crash no longer seemed like a technical failure of the 787, but possibly a cockpit error. That distinction matters for lawsuits, for insurance, and for public perceptions. Boeing, still shadowed by its 737 MAX disaster, was quick to welcome the implication that the plane itself may not have been at fault. But there's more. This very aircraft has been fitted with two brand new General Electric's GNX 1B70 engines, installed just 3 months earlier, and it had logged over 41,000 flight hours since its delivery in 2014, never involved in a major incident until now. So the question hangs in the air. Was this just coincidence, or is there more to the story than we are being told? There's one detail that's been overlooked in the public discussions. The stabilizer position's transducer fault reported just hours before the crash. It's unclear whether that system was truly repaired or simply cleared as per procedures. Could the faulty stabilizer reading have contributed to the aircraft's strange behavior? Could it have affected pitch trim, causing the rare heavy attitude observed in the last seconds? And if so, was the switch to cut off a pilot reaction or a desperate correction gone wrong? There are more theories than answers right now. But one thing is certain, this crash was not just a fluke, it was a failure of trust, systems, and perhaps communication. The BJ Medical College campus still bears the scare of that day. Burned walls, cracked foundations, empty beds. And for the families who lost loved ones, the questions remain louder than the silence they were left with. 248 lives were lost, not to war or terror, but to something we still don't fully understand. Until the truth is known, every flight that takes off is a leap of faith. If stories like these matter to you, if you believe tragedy must be remembered, not just reported, then subscribe to Inside Grid, leave a comment below, Justice for AI171, so that the names lost in this crash don't disappear into silence.